So I'm giving this another whirl. I made a video about these Resident Evil Steelbooks before, but it was plagued by a lot of problems, so starting fresh, here they are. Let's have a look at these. These are already wrapped in plastic. For Steelbooks, I bought these DVD, Blu-ray plastic cases from Amazon. And I tend to wrap them in these, and I'm actually going to keep them in the plastic here. I'm not going to open these up because honestly there's not a lot to see on the inside. There's no artwork on the inside, and the discs pretty much look the same. So just going to have a look on the outside today. But this is the first Resident Evil movie. Came out in 2002 with Mila Jovovich. I know a lot of people hate these movies, frankly. I don't hate them, obviously. I think they're okay popcorn movies. They're not quite like the games, and I'm actually playing the games this year too. Starting chronologically with Resident Evil 0, then I'm going to play 1. Hopefully we'll see some HD remasters of 2 and 3, because those are the only ones missing. There's 7 main Resident Evil games and a lot of spin-offs. And the 7th one was just released last month, I think, or so. Just recently, anyway. Anyway, first Resident Evil movie, pretty decent, pretty okay. I like it. It's not like the games, so you kind of have to take them with a grain of salt. But it has some style. I really like the score by Marco Beltrami and Marilyn Manson. I enjoy the movie. It's a total popcorn entertainment. And very nice Steelbook edition here. This is the new Project Pop Art Steelbook, as are all of these, of course. Brand new artwork there. Very nicely done. I really like the style of these. They're kind of stylized, so they look kind of like half realistic, half artistic, so to speak. But very, very nice there. You got a mutated dog there on the cover. So yeah, not a lot to say about the first Resident Evil movie, but it's okay. I think most people who enjoy action movies or action horror movies will like it at least decently. A note on this first movie, just the first one alone. The first one is the only one that you can only get from the US. Specifically, this is only sold at Best Buy stores in the United States of America. So had to get this one off of eBay, but it worked out okay. Figured I'd just grab this one from eBay before they become ridiculously expensive. So if you want this, grab it while you can. It is region free, so that's a bonus. You can play it all over the world. If you have someone who can buy one at a Best Buy, or you live in the States, or you can grab it from eBay, that's always a possibility if you want this particular Project Pop Art Steelbook edition. Now the other ones are available in Europe as well. They're available all over the world pretty much, I think, at least in mainland Europe, the UK, Scandinavia. So I bought these pretty cheap in Scandinavia. I just picked up the whole rest of the collection. Second one, Resident Evil Apocalypse, is my personal favorite Resident Evil movie. It's a lot of fun. It's just a pure action movie. It's got a lot of twists and turns. It's got Nemesis, this monster that you see on the cover. I think he's from the 3rd Resident Evil game, if I'm not mistaken. And this one is largely very true to the games. They've sort of combined elements of Resident Evil 2 and 3, I think. And it's just a great, fun popcorn movie. I mean, these movies are never very smart. They're never very deep. They have very two-dimensional characters. But if you like popcorn action, I think this is the best one overall. That's my opinion anyway, but yeah, I like Apocalypse a lot. I rewatched this just recently, and it's very entertaining in my opinion. Very, very cool artwork there. Really like the style of this. It's very, very nicely realized. Got Nemesis on the cover there. I just love the look of these. That's why I couldn't pass up. I've owned 3 of the Resident Evil movies before, but I thought it was time to sell the old ones and upgrade to these new Steelbooks. Third one, Resident Evil Extinction, is also a pretty decent movie. I don't think it's awful by any means. Gets a little bit convoluted perhaps, but it's still watchable overall. Has some cool action, pretty decently photographed. I think this is probably the best photographed of the bunch, and it's probably the one that sort of takes its time the most. I don't know if you can call these movies story-driven, But if there is one that sort of resembles a story-driven movie, it's probably this one. Resident Evil Extinction goes full post-apocalyptic, of course, and Alice begins to learn a lot of things about herself. She has these magnificent powers. That's why you're seeing these rocks floating there on the cover. Kind of like the Force, actually. And she realizes that she may not be the only Alice in the world. So Resident Evil Extinction, decent movie. I can watch all three with no major issues. Then we have Resident Evil Afterlife, the fourth movie. This is probably the worst so far, in my opinion. Keep in mind, I still haven't seen the sixth and final movie, but this is the worst, in my humble opinion. What I think is cool about this movie, though, is that it borrows a lot from the video games, especially Resident Evil 5. You've got the Executioner there on the cover. That's a character straight out of Resident Evil 5, a huge monster with his gigantic knife that he wields to kill you. The storytelling is just awful. The acting is awful. Just everything about this movie is pretty awful, to be honest. It's kind of like they just stopped trying. But the saving grace about this one is that they borrow a lot from the video games, especially Resident Evil 5. So you will recognize a lot of the creatures and a lot of the characters. And then we have the final steelbook for this session, the fifth movie out of the 6 ones in the series. Resident Evil Retribution. There's the, I think they call these the Uber Lickers. Funny name, but yeah. Monstrous creature. Very nice artwork on this. Like all of these actual physical steelbooks, even if you don't love the movies, I love the artwork on the covers. So, big draw for me to get these. Anyway, Resident Evil Retribution is the fifth movie, and that's kind of where I feel like Paul W.S. Anderson just said, you know what, screw it. I'm not a good screenwriter, so I'm not even going to try to make a coherent story. I'm just going to give myself carte blanche to write whatever the hell I want. So I actually find this more entertaining than Afterlife, because this goes full on into guilty pleasure popcorn action mode. Like, this movie is style over substance. There's just brainless, mindless action in this movie, and it looks fantastic. It's very, very, very state-of-the-art, looks amazing, polished in high definition, but it's not a movie that you watch for a good story or characters. It's just laughably simple, and he really gives himself, you know, carte blanche to do whatever he wants in this movie, because he basically explains that there's this underground facility that the evil corporation Umbrella has built that replicates 4 or 5 major cities in the world, but they're testing facilities for their viruses and their monsters, which means that they are populated by clones. They're cloning 55 people. And that means that he can basically bring back any character he wants. He can do whatever he wants with them. They can be super powered. They can be ordinary. They can be anything he wants in the world. So it's just kind of it's like he pulled out the cheat code. He was like, I'm sick of this. I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want. But I honestly find this fun to watch. It's not amazing. It's not great, but I'd rather watch this one, where he does whatever he wants, than Afterlife, where he actually sort of tries and fails to write a story, if that makes any sense. So those were the first 5 Resident Evil movies in these new Project Pop Art Steelbooks. I haven't seen the final chapter, which is the 6th one. Heard awful things, but that's not surprising. Anyway, the 5th movie was Retribution. The 4th one is called Afterlife. The 3rd one is called Extinction. The 2nd one, my personal favorite, is called Apocalypse. And then you have the original Resident Evil film from 2002. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Sorry it took me so long, but it's finally here. And I may have a huge shipment of very cool movies coming in shortly, so it's going to be very fun to share those with you as well. Alright, take care of yourselves. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.